Welcome, everybody. Today we're going to a little glitch. Welcome, everybody. Today we're going to spend about, I'd say, 20 minutes talking about something that I think is one of the most misunderstood parts of breathing and functional breathing and nighttime breathing, and that's carbon dioxide tolerance. Now, when most people think about breathing, they think about oxygen, and that makes sense. Get more oxygen, take a big breath, fill up your lungs, breathe deeply. More oxygen must be better. But breathing physiology is much more interesting than that. It's more complex. There's more nuance because one of the things your body has to become comfortable with is its relationship to carbon dioxide. And today, I just don't want to explain this to you. We're going to actually work with it. We're going to do several little experiments together. We're going to do some breath holds. We're going to change the way we're breathing. We're going to pay attention to the first sensation of air hunger. And by the end of the session, I want you to have a much better understanding of what CO2 tolerance actually feels like. If you're new here, I'm Dr. Doug Willen. I've been a chiropractor for 28 years in New York City, working with both humans and animals. I'm also the author of the book Apnea Unmasked, and I created something called the Exhale Method. The Exhale Method is built around a very simple idea that breathing is trainable. Your tongue is trainable. Your airway muscles are trainable. Your breathing patterns are trainable. And many of the things that we think are automatic can actually be influenced through practice. And that's why I call this the breathing gym. And today we're going to be in the gym. And before we start, obviously, we're going to do some gentle breathing exercises. We're not competing. We're not trying to set breath holding records. So it's not a gym in that way. It just means a place for us to workshop, us to work with some of these concepts and see what you could do to build more resilience, more health, and move you down the continuum towards getting a better handle on your nighttime breathing and making your breathing from dysfunctional to functional. And if anything that you're doing today makes you feel dizzy or uncomfortable, stop and return to your normal breathing. And never practice these type of breath holds that we're going to be doing in water or while driving or anywhere that losing awareness would be dangerous. Okay, let's agree on that. Let's get into it. Okay, so let's start with some of the basics. You breathe in oxygen, obviously, and you breathe out carbon dioxide. So it's very easy to start thinking oxygen good, carbon dioxide bad, but that's way too simplistic. Carbon dioxide isn't merely something your body needs to get rid of. It plays an important role in breathing physiology. And here's where this gets really interesting. Your urge to breathe during a normal breath, let me say it again, during a normal breath hold, like when we hold a breath, is strongly influenced by the rising carbon dioxide and the resulting changes in your body chemistry. So, for example, you hold your breath and you feel this trigger that you need to breathe again. So, because when you hold your breath, most of you are going to eventually feel something that says, breathe, breathe, breathe. Your body is triggering that. Your brain is telling you to get another breath in because you've been holding your breath. And a lot of people interpret that sensation as that I'm running out of oxygen. But during a short controlled breath hold, that early urge to breathe is often more about your body's response to rising CO2 more than it's much more your response to that rising CO2 than some immediate oxygen emergency. You're not as much of an emergency as you think, and that's trainable and conditional. So that distinction matters. That's something we work with. You'll know more as we start doing this work. You're invited to come to my free Exhale Method breathing gym. So I don't know if you could see under my name here, it says school.com, Exhale Method /about, and that's a community you have. There is a paid tier, but the free we post or I post 6 days a week, a new micro practice. So you can come in, do some exercise, either breathing or myofunctional muscular exercises for your tongue, throat, mouth, lips, cheeks, and it's under 3 minutes, and then you leave. That's the free tier. And you also can be part of the community, see what type of things we're posting, articles to read, things like that. And for $19 a month, you could upgrade and get live Q&As, training. Yesterday, we just did a boot camp training, and we do those at least once a month. And that would be at the $19 a month tier if you want more. And I also do private coaching. So I work with select people, a small group, and I personally coach them for an entire year with the goal of seeing how much their body is capable of. I've taken over the last 6 years, I've taken 100 people that have objectively, working with their sleep doctor, have been able to test their way off of a CPAP machine or other devices. So, but that takes time. It's it's usually 6 months, 9 months, or a year. And so let's see what we, the real goal at first, though, is we want to train a response to shifts in carbon dioxide. We can become calmer. The goal is to become calmer around mild air hunger. We can improve our awareness. We can practice breathing in a way that doesn't constantly overreact to like every little increase in carbon dioxide. Your body should be able to go with the flow. When you fall asleep at night, your CO₂ will naturally rise. That's a normal thing. But for people with dysfunctional breathing, with sleep apnea, with issues like that, it's very difficult for them to not respond like they're in a crisis. So that shift, like I said, is normal. So we're going to try to train a little bit of this, and we're training our response to carbon dioxide while we're awake. If someone has a 24-hour day, we all have 24-hour days, and let's say you're lucky enough to sleep 8 hours, that means there's 16 hours when you're awake. And what I always like to say, and I wrote about this a little bit in my book, is that you can't be a dysfunctional sleeper at night and then wake up in the morning and be functional all of a sudden. It doesn't make sense. So you wake up in the morning, you just had a bad night of apnea, snoring, issues like that, and now you're not a normal breather during the day. And that's why we have an opportunity in the other 16 hours of your 24 hours to work on creating better patterns, better functionality of your breathing, CO₂ tolerance. We can work on the muscles of our tongue, mouth, throat. And that's what I train people. And that's why we also have that online breathing gym, which you're invited to. And my recommendation would be to come there for free and just log in, get a free account, and just try it. But let's start again, jumping back into this. So to do this, we're going to do an exercise, and you're going to sit comfortably, feet on the floor. If you can, relax your shoulders, roll them back, close your mouth, put your tongue gently against the roof of your mouth. I want you breathing through your nose, nothing fancy, just normal nasal breathing. You breathe in and out, nasal only, in and out. Now make the breaths a little quieter, not dramatically smaller, just quieter. We're going to take a normal breath in and then breathe out. And after the exhale, we're going to pinch the nose. Now we're not going for maximum time. I only want you to notice the first clear desire to breathe. Ready? And breathe. So we call that a BOLT, B-O-L-T, body oxygen level test. We typically time it, gives us a little indication of where you're at with your breathing, your CO₂ tolerance. It's also something we could do as a daily exercise to build up resilience there. Maybe you felt a little sensation. Maybe you felt like a little message saying, breathe. Maybe the diaphragm starts feeling contracted. Um, but let's do it one more time. And if you have a timer on your phone, let's use that for a second. So I'm going to put my stopwatch on. Do you see that? And breathe in, breathe out, and hold. And then recover. So I started this a little late, but that's the idea of it. And one test doesn't mean anything. You start to get a feel by doing a lot of these where you're at, where your average is. And then that's something you can play with. But we're looking for the neuro connection where your brain triggers a breath response. So this is not a maximum breath hold. We're not trying to create a personal record with how long you could hold your breath. This is more training to feel when your body signals that it's starting to go into crisis. And we want to be able to prolong that. We want to stay calm. And not only that, when you let go, recovery is very important. So do you like come back to that, or can you do what I call invisible breath, where we can't even have any idea that you took another breath? That's where we're working towards. So we're looking to make this more about awareness, what's happening in the body. Mild air hunger during a controlled breathing exercise is a sensation that you feel, and sensations can be uncomfortable without automatically being dangerous. Think about exercise. If you climb 10 flights of stairs, your legs may start burning. That sensation is information for you, right? Your body is talking to you. Breathing is similar. When carbon dioxide rises, your respiratory control system responds. You feel an increasing drive to breathe. And if somebody has spent years habitually breathing more than necessary, like they're an overbreather, they're breathing through their mouth, they're sighing frequently or taking unnecessarily large breaths, they have mild air hunger. They can feel surprisingly uncomfortable in all these aspects of breathing throughout the day or night. So part of our practice is not forcing the body, it's teaching the nervous system that I can remain calm here. I don't immediately have to panic. That's what we want our brain to be thinking. I can tolerate a small change because changes happen all the time, and they definitely happen when you're sleeping. So that's what we're working with. So let's try light breathing. To do this, you're going to close your mouth, your tongue is up, breathe through your nose, nasal breathing only. This time, I want you to imagine that you're trying to breathe so quietly that the person sitting next to you couldn't hear you. I call that invisible breathing. It's just my name for it. Gentle inhale. Remember, nasal only, gentle exhale. Don't deliberately take giant slow breaths to prepare. You just want to do it naturally. So what you're not going to do is and try to get into it. Don't do that. Be effortless. Stay zen on this. Inhale, exhale, and keep going. This is not a breath hold. This is reducing the volume slightly, almost like you're breathing underneath your normal breathing. Let me say it again. You want to breathe a little less. So let's say on a scale of 1 to 10, your breath right now is of forcefulness and intensity is an 8. I want you to bring it down to a 7. I want you to be a little quieter, a little softer. Keep going. And after a little while, you may notice that you want to take a bigger breath. That's good. That's the edge we're looking for. We're trying to find that edge, not a major air hunger, not stress, just a mild desire for more air. We're trying to find that place, that borderline, sneak up on that peak over the edge. Stay relaxed, shoulders soft, jaw relaxed, tongue resting up, lips together, teeth slightly apart. Keep going. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now take a break. Now return to completely normal breathing. Notice how subtle that was. This is one of the misconceptions people have about breathing training. They think it has to look dramatic. huge insulations, huge exhalations, 40 breaths, breath hold. And that's all well and good. And that's a different type of breathing, like we're not doing a major breath to dive under the water into the ocean. We're not doing that to dive into freezing cold water. We're just learning how to breathe better during the day so that we can breathe or be more functional in our breathing at night. And we learn a lot from those techniques. I talk a lot about free divers or Wim Hof's method of breathing. It's all good. But right now, specifically, we're working more for people with sleep apnea and snoring. Um, so what happens if you breathe more than your metabolic needs require? That's a good question, right? If you deliberately increase ventilation, you could lower your carbon dioxide, right? I'm pushing out carbon dioxide. I'm overdoing that, right? Um, that's one reason people can become hold on one second. Let me see my notes. That's one reason people can become lightheaded when they hyperventilate. You're not necessarily getting some magical flood of useful oxygen. You're changing your blood chemistry, including lowering your CO2. And this is why I don't want people walking around all day taking enormous breaths because somebody told them you got to breathe deeply. And I understand that. I studied breath. I studied meditation. I studied yoga. I was in India. I was in ashrams. I did a lot of cool stuff. I've trained in many different breathing techniques. I've trained in hyperventilation. I've trained in emotional breath work. And that's all good, but that's not what we're doing here. So we're doing light breathing. We're learning how to control our CO2 levels a little bit, and not just control our levels. Let me say that differently because that was not exactly what I wanted to say. I want you to be able to control your tolerance to fluctuations in CO2. That is more accurate. So we don't need to make this performative. You just want to try to get into this relaxed state, like you're doing Tai Chi, you're flowing, you're relaxing. Your body already knows how to breathe. We're just trying to improve the pattern. And here's another fascinating piece of the physiology. Carbon dioxide also influences how readily hemoglobin releases oxygen to your tissues. The relationship is part of what's known as the Bohr effect, Bohr. So the relationship between oxygen and carbon dioxide isn't good gas versus bad gas. It's more complicated than that. It's more synergistic. It's a relationship. That's the concept I want you to leave with today. If your CO2, if you're expelling too much CO2, so now you're getting it out of your body, you're disrupting the natural homeostasis of CO2 and oxygen in your body, and only at certain balanced areas will your red blood cell release oxygen molecules so they could be absorbed into muscles and your heart. And so as an athlete, if you're over breathing and mouth breathing early into a competition, so not the fourth quarter, not the end of the game, but you're like from the beginning because you're a dysfunctional breather, you might knock off your CO2 tolerance and your legs get bonked a lot earlier. And that's why endurance athletes need to do this work. Combat athletes need to do this work. Anybody that needs to do their sport more than a few minutes. And really fine motor skill athletes should do this too. So if you're an archer or a marks person with guns or rifles or snipers, this would be amazing work for you to do also. So we're going to do a comfortable exhale hold right now. What we're going to do is we're going to pay very close attention to the recovery because recovery tells us, well, it tells me a lot. It tells me how your body is responding to an added stressor. So we're going to breathe normally through your nose. Your tongue is up, your shoulders back and relaxed. You're going to have a normal breath in, a normal breath out, nasal breathing only. Pinch your nose, hold, stay relaxed. Keep this going. You could probably feel the CO2 build up at this point. Notice the desire you might have to breathe, that desire might increase. Don't fight it. Just hang out there. Stay calm. Stay in that little zone. Stay in that pocket. We're not proving anything. And then release when you have a clear desire to breathe. You might be now. Just let go and breathe normally, but breathe through your nose. Try to recover invisibly. And there's that word again I like to use. Now, here's the important part. We want this to be gentle, quiet, calm. The recovery part is a big part of this exercise. Anybody can turn this breath hold into something bigger than it is, where like you do a breath hold and then you have to take a big breath afterwards. But that's not what we're doing here. This is one reason I use the BOLT score, BOLT. We did it before, body oxygen level test. The name can be a little misleading because we're not directly measuring your blood oxygen with the BOLT. We're looking at your response to a normal exhale breath hold and the first definite desire to breathe. It gives us useful information about breathing patterns and sensitivity to the buildup of carbon dioxide. And here's the mistake, well, that I see people make when they do this. They turn the BOLT into a contest, even within themselves. And this is not good. They don't need to go there. It's not a contest. It's more of a reference point. It's more of a feedback loop. So people will shout out, hey, I got a 35 today. I got a 42. I got a 50. And I don't care. You know, my teacher, Dr. Paul Sly, he was telling me when I was studying the oxygen advantage method, he was my instructor. He said that he works with professional hockey players in Canada. That's where his practice is. And he said even the most high, level elite level athletes that he works with might only move their BOLT score 3 to 4 seconds, over a period of 3 to 6 months. And what that means is sometimes people go, hey, I can do 50, but they're probably doing a maximum breath hold and not a true BOLT. So it takes a little time to get used to the nuances of the BOLT. And the most important thing is the feeling of it, to feel for that neurological trigger. It's time to breathe. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for your sympathetic nervous system response that your body is saying, breathe. It's creating a mini crisis. And we want to hang out in that threshold, that borderline of that crisis. And these are things I teach. So if you're watching this for the first time today, you're not going to understand everything. We learn in layers. So little by little, you go, oh, I'm starting to get that. So I don't know what level you are when you're watching this. You might be a brand new beginner. You might be more intermediate, or maybe you've been playing with these type of concepts for a while. But remember, that's why we have that free community. And here is the first page of that community if you want to look. And we call it the Breathing Gym, and it's on school, SKOOL.com. It's SK, not SCH, SKOOL.com/exhale method. And I'd like you to go to the about page. So that's /about. That's where all the general information is. And it's also where you could join for free. So let's go back to the BOLT. You're going to sit quietly for a moment. Don't change your breathing. Don't prepare. So you're not going to, we're not going to do that thing. We're just going to have a normal breath in, nasally, nasal only, normal breath out. Pinch your nose. Start counting in your head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A stopwatch, of course, is more accurate, but it doesn't really matter because we're not going for a world record here. We're just trying to practice the rhythm of breathing and being aware. We're waiting for that first definite desire to breathe. That's the BOLT, not maximum, not suffering. You don't want to suffer, not contractions that you're fighting through, not dizziness. It's that first definite desire. And when you feel it, release your nose, get your number, resume gentle nasal breathing, and remember that number. Now ask yourself something. What happened after you released? Did you have to go huge breath? If you did, you probably pushed too far. You were way past your natural urge to breathe. You missed that trigger, and that needs more practice. I had this meditation teacher, and we would say to him sometimes in our group, I can't get this. I can't stay focused. I can't do it very long without my mind wandering. I can't really feel everything I should feel. And he would say something like, well, you're just not good enough yet. And what he meant by that was, why do we always think we could be great at something on the very first day. You take a piano lesson when you're a child and you don't have those expectations as much. And that's why someone starting out with basic scales, they can't play any songs yet, they're only a child, but they don't put so much pressure on themselves. But if we take a musical instrument as an adult, or learn a language as an adult, or try to learn functional breathing as an adult, the first thing that we think is, oh, I'm horrible at this, I'm never going to learn. And we're so judgmental. We don't give ourselves any onboarding runway to learn something and get good at it. So give yourself, be nice to yourself. And this stuff is really cool stuff, because if you started to practice this, even just a few minutes a day, like I said in the beginning of this, I've helped, over 100 people get off CPAP. And the way they did that was they did that through objectively being tested with their sleep doctor. So they studied this for 8, 9 months, a year. And then when we felt that they were ready, they went back to their original doctor and repeated their sleep test. Some of them got off CPAP, some didn't, because I've worked with a lot of people over the years. But it's something worth fighting for, perhaps. It just depends how important it is to you to be able to do that. So CO2 tolerance while moving is another challenge. So because breathing doesn't happen while we're sitting perfectly still all day, you're going to stand up if you can, if I don't know where you are right now, and we're going to simply march in place. So that will increase your heart rate. Not a lot, but a little bit. It's nothing strenuous. You're just going to march left, right, left, right, left, right, march in place, march in place, march in place. Keep that going, but keep your mouth closed. No open mouth breathing. Breathe your nasal only. Keep marching. And now notice something. Movement increases the metabolic demand. So your body produces more carbon dioxide. You don't know this, but it's happening. So with the marching, with the stress, with the exercise, your body is making more carbon dioxide. Your breathing has to respond appropriately to this. And this is where training gets interesting, because the question is, can you maintain calm nasal breathing as the demand increases? Not just sitting still and sitting in a Zen state, but walking up a flight of stairs, or walking down the street, or jogging, or exercise, or carrying packages, or playing with your children or grandchildren. But keep marching while I'm talking, nasal breathing only. Don't make this into a cardio session. Keep it nice, keep it flowing, keep it easy. Now slightly reduce the size of your breathing, just a little, and keep marching. Nasal breathing. So we're breathing in and breathing out, keep marching. And you're going to breathe a little less. So you're going to take a little less air in, like 5%, and try to control a little less air coming out before you continue. Little less air in, less breathing, less air, turning it down. Keep your tongue up if you can comfortably maintain that. Your tongue could be on the palate. I prefer it there, but if you can't worry with that the first day, don't worry. Relax the shoulders. And now come to a standstill and notice whether any mild air hunger appeared, because that's physiology. Your muscles are working. Your metabolism has just increased, right? We just pushed you. Your CO2 production just increased. Your breathing has to adapt to these stressors, these changes. And so that's basically that test. It's more about, not test, that exercise. It's more about the experience of it. I want you to notice your recovery now. You can sit back down, and how long does it take you to breathe again normally? Can you stay nasal? Can you keep your tongue on the roof of your mouth? Your tongue should always be on the roof of your mouth all day long, believe it or not, except when you're talking or eating. And that's what I teach my patients. Here's the big takeaway from today. CO2 tolerance doesn't mean becoming some superhuman breath holding machine. You're not going to turn into elite level free diver or a sniper that can control their breath under extreme amount of stress and lower their heart rate, or a yogi that can do that in the mountains, like a Zen Buddhist monk. That's not what we're trying to teach today. We're just trying to develop a more efficient relationship with your breathing, because if we practice our breathing during the day, we get a reset at night. And the people that are able to shift that, practice this stuff a little bit, a little bit, a little bit, and all a little bit of training and practice stacks up, they get a reset at night and they start to breathe functionally at night. They don't go into sleep apnea crises. They don't stop breathing. Apnea means without breath, right? You're not even breathing. And what that does to the cardiovascular system, to your brain, uh, oxygen deprivation to your brain is extremely dangerous. I've seen some articles that say that you could lower your life expectancy up to 15 years with sleep apnea. So we don't want to put that type of unhealthy stress on our body. This is something worth working towards, even if it's just a little bit at a time. Um, we're learning to recognize mild air hunger without immediately reacting to it. We're learning to breathe quietly. We're learning to breathe through the nose. We're learning to control the recovery after a breath hold. We're learning what our breathing does when metabolic demand increases. And we're learning something else that's incredibly important, that breathing training is a practice. Breathing is trainable, or I should say functional breathing is trainable. Uh, we can work on this. We can improve this. These are muscles of the airway, muscles of the respiratory system. Control, or the interrelationship between the nervous system and these muscles of breathing and respiration have, yes, they're on autonomic response, but they can be worked with. And that's why free divers can go from being, they enter the sport. These are the people with the fins that hold their breath and go as deep as possible. They can be at one level, and after years of practice, they can move into elite level or maybe even a world champion. But they weren't born world champions at handling their CO2 tolerance. And that's exactly what they do. They hold their breath and go as deep as possible. Their CO2 is increasing, their oxygen blood level is decreasing rapidly. One is going up and one is going down, and they're trying to go as deep as they can and return to the surface without passing out and without their brain shutting down. And that's something they practice. But my point being is that this stuff is trainable, not to become a free diver unless that's your goal, but to handle this enough to be a functional breather and sleeper so that you don't go into crisis at night and harm your health. So the big win here is hopefully today is you just notice how either calm your breathing is or not calm your breathing is, and just know that this stuff can be worked on. So I'm glad you guys checked this out today. And again, I call this my breathing gym, and I welcome you to get a free membership if you don't have one. You can learn a little bit more, watch some of the other videos. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe and come back and see some more stuff. I'm posting all the time. This is a new channel. I have 1.7 million followers on social media because I have two other YouTube channels, one called House of Chiro, which is my work behind the scenes with chiropractic patients that are humans. I also have another channel called Animal Cracker, which is my work with horses, dogs, pigs, chickens, cows, cats, rabbits. And then I have two Instagrams, two TikToks, and a big Facebook page, totaling 1.7 million. This is a brand new channel. As you can see, we're just starting to get it going, but I'm committed to posting almost every single day. So I'll be putting up new material. And you can also catch me in the free gym. And be nice to see you over there. So thank you for checking this out today, and have a great day. Thanks.